Welcome back. This is the Triple Option. Paul Catalina, Pierre Nugent. And Pierre, you're there, Fox 9 Minneapolis, by the way. Didn't give a plug for your actual employer. But you and I kind of grew up in this business a little bit together in our younger years. Now that we're, I'm middle-aged. I don't know about how you feel, but I'm.
Yeah, I have entered middle age now.
I'm 43. There's no, there's no sugarcoating it anymore. That's it. Like, when people tell you, like, oh, you're not, I'm like, yes, I am. 43.
Yeah. Like, I have to accept this. I wake up every day looking in the mirror and say, God, you look terrible today. Yeah, what happened to you?
We're at the age where television shows made about us are either sitcoms like Everybody Loves Raymond or shows like Parenthood, where like, that one, I'll take that one. But like, when you look around the shows, like when you ask like people like what they like, they're like, oh, I like This Is Us. And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Where's Paul and what did you do with them?
Yeah. But I mean, like they say that I don't watch this, but like you look at that and you're like, oh, these shows are about people. Like these are life issues people I know are having as opposed to like, when you're younger and, salad days, I guess. But this week in Coach Speak, Jack, do you have the tweet? Dabo Swinney, who just came off of what I believe is the worst defeat of his career because Duke absolutely housed them. I mean, physically, it was close for most of the game, but Duke out-physical Clemson, which never happens. Duke had more playmakers than Clemson, which should not happen. Duke out-coached Clemson, which has never happened. Mike Elko was all there, and Dabo Swinney said this. He loved what he saw from the offense outside of a few mistakes. If we do what we did offensively for the rest of the year, we won't lose another game. It's just that simple. They scored 7 points, Pierre. They scored 7 points. That is coach speak to its highest level here on This Week in Coach Speak.
No doubt.
I mean, all right, I'm gonna just step back and let you kind of opine on what you just heard from a coach who just got it handed to him.
Listen, I will admit I did not get a chance to watch that game. However, I did watch the highlights of the game, and I read up on what happened. And the first thing that stood out to me was, boy, did Clemson really shoot themselves in the foot with turnovers. Just killed themselves with turnovers. But, I mean, the one thing that has progressively made me more and more upset in this business, whether it's a coach, whether it's a player, whether it's a team official, whether it's in communications or at the top, that constantly on a daily basis try to get me to believe that my eyes are not seeing what I'm seeing. That constantly say to me like, oh, no, it's not like this. That try to put a positive spin, that really try to confuse me and make me believe I didn't just see what I just saw. And what I did see, even though, like I admit, I didn't see the full game from Clemson, but what I did see and what I can surmise is, like you just said, a team that got absolutely dominated. Now, they did shoot themselves in the foot with turnovers again. That'll do it to you, obviously. But you go into Duke, and I don't even remember how much they were favored by still going into Duke. And you're still Clemson with the weapons that you have and Dabo Swinney at the helm. It's still Clemson. You got punched in the mouth, did you not? And if you say, oh, you sit there and say, oh, well, I mean, we're going to be like, you got punched in the mouth. And it should be a wake-up call to you. So don't sit here and tell me that, if we just make a correction here, no, you got to take a look at the mirror real quick. It's not as dire as like Texas Tech, because, Texas Tech is not on that level that Clemson has been over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But this is a wake-up call right now for Clemson. And, you better get it right. You better get it right in a hurry.
Look, the end comes for everybody's run of dominance. Like, it's going to come for Alabama. Like, it might have already done. Like, Georgia's now the team in the SEC. In the ACC, it came for Florida State. Florida State was in control of the ACC a long time. Dabo flipped the script, and now they've been kind of in control. And now, because of decisions he's making, for example, not taking guys out of the transfer portal, and and we talked about this both shows I did yesterday at length. And look, if you don't like the transfer portal as much, that's fine. If you like NIL, that's fine. if you want to try to do it another way, but everybody else around you is doing it. So you are, because you're trying to die on a hill, putting yourself at a disadvantage, and it's just numbers to me. Like, NIL is weird kind of everywhere, and it's hard to even get a gauge on it because I don't even know what to believe when you hear it, because it's not like you hear that, Karl Anthony Towns got a shoe deal and you know how much it is, right? You're hearing all these other things that are kind of speculative, and then you can't even really say. Like, it's somehow taboo to say it. And you're like, well, what's taboo? It's legal. Like, yeah, just say what the guy's getting. It's legal. And
you said it like, I mean, there's no principle of the matter here anymore. Like, I mean, like you said, the door is open. Everybody else is doing it. It's not one of those things like, well, everybody else is doing it. You heard when your mom and dad growing up, you're like, well, if everybody else is doing it, you might as well just jump off a cliff then if they did it. Like, wouldn't you? It's not that. The green light is there for everybody. So the fact that you're not taking advantage of it, that's on you. And that's a problem. And it's going to be a problem if you don't kind of get with the times that we're in college football.
Well, eventually you're just going to, you're going to try to start recruiting people who are yes men and just agree with you. Like, you want to earn your money, right, son? You want to do this, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to you don't come in for the transfer portal. You want to be at the same place the whole time. Well, look, I'll just tell you math. He's lost 32 transfers in 3 years, which is not many. That's good. I mean, that's an average of about 11 a year, right? But he's brought in nobody else, and he's just done that on high school players, and they recruit really well, but you're also now, the people you're playing are bringing in guys who can play a little bit quicker and are already, a couple years older. And Dabo should know this because he's been doing this his entire professional life, that the difference between you when you're 18 and when you're 21 or 22 after 3 years of eating right and being in a college weight program is a lot different than coming out of whatever high school you do, which may or may not have a good weight program. You may or may not be in a place where it has, that has good advantages like that. I'll just compare it to here in Texas. Sometimes guys from Texas hit their peak a little bit quicker because they are, at schools like Midway that I covered here for a long time. They have an indoor practice facility, weight room that would rival anybody. You've seen them, and then they could come out of a school like in another powerhouse state, like in Georgia. They could come out of like a little town that has 5 benches and 5 squat racks and 10 sets of dumbbells that aren't all matching. So. And he eats, and that kid eats Lucky Charms every day because that's all he can get. And the kid in Texas is getting protein shakes, and the school lunch program is good. So he's going to hit his peak at a different time, than the kid that's the freshman from Texas. And Dabo going like, well, I'll take my chances with true freshmen. I mean, a lot of coaches have learned that lesson the hard way.
It sounds like It sounds like I don't know what kind of sports analogy you want to use in this situation, but it's one of those situations where like maybe you have a champion, whether it's in, boxing or like tennis, that has done it one way for a long time and it's worked, but everybody else figured out a way to get better. And that champion has just stayed in one place. And now everybody's kind of passed them by or in the process of passing them by because they didn't expand their toolbox and they didn't find a way to get better because the way they did it, their one way of doing it worked for so long, and now they don't know what to do because everybody else has found a way around it or found a way to put a little bit of chink in the armor, and they just don't know how to react or respond. That's it feels like that's the conversation that we're having with Dabo Swinney and Clemson right now. We may be overreacting to one game. There's probably a good chance that that's the situation, but that kind of feels like the conversation we're having with them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be Mike Tyson losing to Buster Douglas because you weren't prepared, Right. You've got guys, oh, we don't have any plastic bags. What do we have? Oh, we've got some condoms. Let's put some ice in there, and that's what we use. And maybe hopefully nobody will notice, those.
I'm sure it'll work well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I bring that up because that's a very true story. People can, if you haven't heard that story about how Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas and the fact that he didn't have a real trainer, he had no cut man. They got there and hey, what do we put ice in? And they're like, well, you got some bags, right? They're like, no, we don't have any. What do you have?
I remember that fight. They weren't even taking wagers on that fight.
Yeah,
because it was such a foregone conclusion.
Yeah,
such a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, you don't want to be that. All right, when we come back. Pierre Nugent, master of college football pick'em.
Yes,
we at least for 1 week, we will make our picks. Yes, and I've even given us more time, Jack, to do this. So you're welcome, producer Jack. This is the triple option on 365 Sports.